So, not to throw anyone into an existential crisis or anything, but have you ever wondered if design is one of those jobs that's going to be overtaken by robots? Is this a safe career choice for the future, with automation and AI and templates enabling more and more people to create good-looking designs on their own? Will there still be a need for designers like us in years to come? And if everyone has access to these tools and everyone can be a designer, does that mean our skills are becoming less and less valuable? What can we do about this, and how much should we worry about it? I got to thinking about all of this last week after seeing a big discussion going on Twitter between designers about free design assets and whether or not they are helpful or harmful to our industry. I want to dive into that today and share my opinion on the matter, as well as talk about the future of design as a job. Okay, so if you don't spend a lot of time on Twitter, let me catch you up quickly. So last week, a very talented designer called Pablo Stanley released an open source illustration project. Pablo releases a lot of side projects, always very cool, but the response to this one was really divided. What some people saw as a super handy resource, others saw as a potential threat to their livelihood. While I personally am more in the former group, I can totally understand this reaction from illustrators too. Because Pablo has provided these illustrations free for either personal or commercial use, that means that there will be some companies who choose to use these super cool, really well-made free illustrations for their website, for their mobile app, instead of hiring an illustrator to create something custom. That is going to happen. But this isn't the first time that something like this has happened in the design industry. We've seen this happen before for web designers with Squarespace, for graphic designers with the Canva templates, with free icon sets, free UI kits, free fonts. All of these things give people the option to DIY a solution rather than hiring a designer to create something custom. And I don't want to make it sound like it's just the general public who makes use of these free assets. Us designers use them too. They can really help speed up our workflow or stay within budget for a project. For example, instead of spending my time drawing custom vector icons from scratch, I often make use of things like Font Awesome or Noun Project to just quickly grab the icon that suits what I need. If I have easy access to something that suits my needs in this way, why not make use of it? It's not cheating, it's just being smart about where I spend my time and resources. Of course though, there is a major downside to making use of pre-made assets, and that is that anyone else could be making use of them too, including a competitor. So when someone chooses to use a pre-made asset, whether it's a free one like Pablo's illustrations or a paid one like a stock asset, they're not just choosing convenience and cost saving, they're also choosing something generic over something custom. And I think this is a point that a lot of illustrators have been trying to make throughout this conversation, is that illustration shouldn't just be a generic decoration on the page. It should be an integral part of the brand. It should communicate a message. So it seems like part of the reason that they're frustrated by Pablo releasing this open source illustration project is that they feel it treats illustrations as just a pretty decoration, as something you can just copy and paste and fit on any website. And they feel like it's devaluing their work. I think though that a client who sees no difference between an illustration that has been custom made to suit their needs and one that could just be copy and pasted from this illustration set is probably not going to be a great client to work with anyway, and they're also probably pretty unlikely to hire an illustrator in the first place. Jeff Tian said something similar to this on Twitter. He said that we've been doing this for years, releasing free assets. It doesn't ruin people's careers, it reduces shit clients. I agree with Jeff, and this is something that web designers had to deal with when the quality and ease of templated websites really improved. When Squarespace became popular, for example, a lot of web designers had to drastically shift what they were offering and how they were communicating their value, because now the client who just wanted a very basic website and who cared more about how it looked and getting it to look exactly how they wanted, rather than thinking through the user experience and considering their website as part of a solution to a problem. They could now very easily just pick a template and create a website for themselves. But that didn't put web designers out of work though. It just meant that our main value is now more in the strategy and the design thinking side of things, rather than in creating a basic homepage. Personally, I think that's a great thing. I think the quality of the web as a whole has improved with this. We've got less gatekeeping in who can make a good looking website. The clients who just wanted something quick and cheap can do it themselves, and it frees up web designers to focus more on the clients with interesting problems and who value design more. As this barrier to creating good looking designs gets broken down more and more, which it will, we as designers, no matter what discipline we're in, need to continue to show that design is more than just what something looks like. We need to lean in to the strategy side of design, into user research and using data to inform our decisions, and into our human empathy and artistic talent with creative problem solving. I believe that these skills will be valuable for a very long time, and they're the reason that I personally am not worried about automation or robots coming for my job. Maybe this is just naive optimism, but I believe there will always be a place in the design process for humans making decisions, for creative problem solving that combines the data with our cultural context and our human empathy. These are things that we have over the templates and over the robots, and that's why I think we need to lean into these things to make our careers long lasting. I didn't want this video to just be about my opinion, however, so let me bring in some thoughts of some of my subscribers on this whole free design asset situation.
I think that this project is a wonderful idea. I love the story behind it. I love the inspiration behind it. I love the heart behind it, because this is all about opening doors, opening those gates up and saying, hey, here's something for you. That's marvelous. And I think more people should do that if they have the resources available to them to pay back or pay forward. That's wonderful, and it takes nothing away from the individual and adds to the collective.
I love that, Patty. We all learn a lot from resources that other designers put out there. That's why I make these videos, actually. It's my way of trying to give back to the design community that I learned so much from. I do, however, think that two things can be true at once. That we can see that, yes, this free design asset is amazing and helpful, but that also it does cause challenges and problems for a sector of the industry, and that we're going to have to learn to adapt as more and more of these free assets come out. It absolutely doesn't mean that we shouldn't make them anymore, because I believe overall they do help, but we should be aware of this side of it too.
I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all answer to the question, is free design bad? Because there's a lot of situations where free design is super beneficial. Like, I'm a self-taught designer, and I wouldn't have learned some of the stuff that I did if I didn't have a chance to play around with those things. And, like small startups that, need resources and, just things like that. But then at the same time, you can see people clearly exploiting free stuff, and I really just think it's a double-edged sword,
This is interesting. Leah is right. There is always going to be people who exploit free stuff. I did see someone make a joke, actually, in response to Pablo's tweet announcing this project, that now a bunch of designers are going to go and sell these illustrations on Fiverr. That probably is going to happen, but it's a risk you take, I think, when you put something free out there into the world, that some people are going to be malicious with it, they're going to exploit it. But like Patty said, overall, it adds to the collective good, so it's still worth it.
As a teacher, I do appreciate this free design asset, whether it's for my graphic design students or for my web development students. However, the problem comes in when they start relying too much on them and now trying to create their own content. So it is a good thing, but also a bad thing in the end.
This is a perspective that I hadn't really considered. I think as more and more free assets are produced, we as designers have to be careful that we don't get lazy because of them. We have to be careful that we're still building up the skills that we want to have. I don't think it's just students who have this problem either. I think that it can happen for any designer who's relying a little too much on assets. So we just need to be mindful of that.
I don't believe free design assets devalue the design industry, because they're likely to be used by people who are creating personal projects. Maybe they don't have a budget, so they're likely not going to be the type who would otherwise buy design assets that aren't free anyway. And so I don't see free design assets as some sort of deterrent for a big budget client to suddenly decide that they're going to use the free design assets versus going to an expert and seeking out a custom solution for their business problem or their design problem.
I think Raymond is right that a big budget client is still going to hire someone to create something custom because they see the value in that, and they have business needs that they need to solve. However, I do think that a low budget client is likely to use a free asset instead of hiring someone. I want to bring in Justin Mezzel's tweets here from an illustrator's perspective, because I think that's really important that you see this too. He says here that it's dangerous to assume that there are two different markets here. He calls out that making it easier to not hire someone, essentially, has a negative effect on the whole. Now I'm really curious. I want to know where you stand on this matter. What do you think about designers putting out free assets to the world? Is it helpful? Is it more harmful? Do the pros outweigh the cons? Vice versa? And what about the rise of more and more templates being produced, the rise of AI and automation? Do you worry about the future of design as a career choice because of these things? I'd love to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments and let's keep this discussion going. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring about matters like this, and I will talk to you in my next video.